did it, but if you give it to them, it'd be another 18 months before it goes through.
But it's gonna be a process, so we should keep it. Yes.
Well, everybody's always handing us something. He would feel like she should just put it in all caps and get over it. Oh, good.
All right. Easy enough.
Call this town council meeting to order, Monday, August 25th, 2025. Is there any adjustment to the agenda or approval?
I make the motion. We approve it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Conflict of interest statement, I think most of you all are familiar with that, and I can read it. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything that's on the agenda packet for tonight? No. All right. Move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Vice Mayor, Council, tonight's consent agenda on page 2 is your July 28, 2025 Town Council regular meeting minutes. On page 6 is a tax settlement appointment as a tax collector and order of collections. Buncombe County has provided the attached in your packet for 2024-25 tax settlement, which shows Weaverville collection rate of 99.87%. Council was asked to take the following to close out the fiscal year 24-25 tax year, begin collections of the 25-26 significant resource for revenue of the town, to approve the 24-25 tax settlement, appoint a tax collector and set bond amount, adopt the order of collection for fiscal year 25-26. That action tonight, when we finish consent, will be that council will adopt the proposed resolution, which incorporates all those formal actions as described above. Moving on to page 15. Obviously, it's early in the year, so our tax rate and collection has just started with the county. So we're currently at 0.52% of the town's property tax being first up. July 25, property tax levy release fund, $399. July 25, motor vehicle levy and release fund, $267.22. Moving to page 21. Budget amendment and transfer for fiscal year 25, revision to prior budget amendments. Fiscal year 24-25 include a final transfer totaling $52,634.24 from the general fund to the capital project fund for the recreation complex. Needs to be a budget amendment to properly record that. This will be the final transfer. That capital project has been completed and closed out. Budget amendment, town council approved on 6/23 of 25, including insurance claims proceeds for both public works and the water department. The amount that the water is related to $32,575.06. Needs to be moved to the water fund, requiring a revision to the prior budget amendment. The attached budget amendment is necessary so the funds can be properly transferred and recorded for 24-25. Recommending approval of the attached budget amendment in your packets. Moving along to page 23 is budget amendments and reappropriations. 24-25 year budget contains several items that were received and or budgeted during that fiscal year, but need to move forward to fiscal year 25-26. The amounts will revert back to the fund balance at 6/30/25 and must be reappropriated in order to be spent in this current fiscal year. Under administration, building repair and maintenance, $10,152.93. Unfinished HVAC and repairs and replacements. Small equipment, $29,388.08. Remaining for deposits for upgrading the accounting system. Police department salary wages, $48,888. SRO reimbursement, Alcohol education and prevention, $17,056. For ABC law enforcement, $13,745.27. Cops for kids, $1,119.13. All that carryovers from unspent funds. Building repair and maintenance, $16,144.99. Unfinished repairs, capital improvements, $15,379.19. On unfinished reservations or renovations. For fire vehicle maintenance, $7,401.34. Vehicle parts ordered but not yet received as of the end of fiscal year on June the 30th. Small equipment, $21,035 for equipment ordered but not received. And capital equipment, $128,053.38 for capital equipment ordered but not yet received as of 6/30/25. Rescue boat, alerting system, resiliency, water sources, UTVs, radios. In our streets department, capital improvements, $320,745.72. Street paving programs, unspent funds. The Powell bill, capital improvements, $447,535.35. Street paving programs, unspent funds. And sanitation vehicle maintenance, $22,615.98 for unfinished repairs on our garbage truck. Stormwater management, capital improvements, $125,160 for stormwater program unspent funds. Ground maintenance, capital improvements, $57,696.26. Handrails and other unfinished capital projects. Water production, capital equipment, $65,177.31. Unfinished repairs on the raw water pump. And under water maintenance, contract labor, $5,400. Unfinished sidewalk repairs on Lake Shore Drive. Vehicle supplies, $2,459.32. Parts ordered but not yet received. Supplies and materials, $1,826.34 for supplies ordered but not received. Capital improvements, $886,535.96 for water line replacement project carried forward. Capital equipment, $13,815.67. This for equipment ordered not yet received. I recommend approval of the attached budget amendments that are in your packet. On page 27, budget amendments for Public Works and the Community Center. Stormwater drain pipe in front of the fire department has recently failed in repairs, as we mentioned previously, toward the end of last year, that a sinkhole was discovered. In the front apron of the fire department, we've obtained the estimates from multiple sources. The lowest quote was $121,850. The funding comes from the general fund balance. The town has been awarded a grant for Arbor Day Foundation on Truist Charitable Fund in the amount of $35,000 for hurricane recovery. These funds will be used for tree inventory and assessments of trees on town property and restoration efforts. The town received insurance proceeds totaling $41,006.66 for property claims related to Hurricane Helene storm damage in our Public Works Department. And the town received a donation of $1,200 from Advent Help to help sponsor our Family Fridays program at the Community Center. Again, in there you'll find an attached budget amendment necessary to include these funds in the 25-26 budget. I recommend approval for that budget amendment. On page 29, appointment of boards. There are several town boards that have existing and expiring terms. There is one in Planning Board vacancy to fill. The mayor has recommended for consideration the following appointments and reappointments for the Board of Adjustments, Planning Board, ABC Board reflected in the suggested motion below. Brent Cunning declined reappointment to the Board of Adjustments and wishes to be considered for appointment to a more active board in the future. We will be looking for applicants to fill the alternative vacancy on the Board of Adjustments and hope to bring that back to council in the coming months. Again, some suggested motions in this as we go through the consent agenda for your packet approval on. Michael McNee, reappointment as a regular board member on the ABC Board to serve a 3-year term ending in September of 28. Robert Chasson, reappointment as chairman of the ABC Board for a 1-year term. Jonathan Brown, reappointment as a regular member of the Planning Board to serve a new 3-year term ending in September of 28. Michael Salazzo, reappointment as a regular member of the Planning Board to serve a new 3-year term ending in September 28. Tom Flannery, appointment as an alternate member of the Planning Board to serve a new 3-year term ending in September 28. Paul Combs, reappointment as a regular member of the Board of Justice to serve a new 3-year term ending in September of 28. Page 33, a road closure ordinance. Road closure ordinance requested, needed for the Art and Autumn event sponsored by the Weaverville Business Association. This event is planned for Saturday, September 20th. The closure has been approved by North Carolina DOT, recommending that council move forward on the adoption of the road closure ordinance as presented. Page 57. No, I'm sorry, let me back up 1 to 36. I'm about to try to get us out of here early. So, on page 36, we had the Helene recovery update on that information. We've been working with the county and other municipalities jurisdictions, the Helene recovery plan. Staff will update council on the development of a countywide Helene recovery plan, and each jurisdiction is included in that. Weaverville has developed some specific projects to work towards, and those will include economic resiliency, emergency preparedness, infrastructure resiliency, environmental resiliency, and community resiliency. The draft plan is expected to roll out to all the jurisdictions for review and public input in September, with adoption by each jurisdiction slated for November, December timeframe. No action on that plan is needed by council at this time. Now going to page 57, our tree assessment inventory project. Our clerk, Ms. Tamara Mercer, was instrumental in this project. She obtained several proposals for certified arborists to conduct the tree inventory and assessment of the towns. The Davie Resource Group proposal reflects a $17,000 contract amount for the inventory of up to 1,000 trees on town properties, maintenance strategy with a 5-year budget and benefits analysis that includes invasive pest management section and virtual meetings to present the resulting report. The $35,000 grant that the town received from Truist Bank will cover this entire expenditure without any required town match. The remaining funds of $18,000 will be able to be used to purchase and plant some trees for restoration efforts. The grant deadline is December 31st to 25. Council is urged to move forward with awarding this contract so that we can approve that proposal with the following suggestions that's in your packet, as mentioned, for the dated on July 17th of 25, at the stated cost of $17,000. Authorized town staff to execute that contract. And that is it for your consent agenda.
Does anybody have any questions? Scotty, I did have a question regarding the Davie Resource Group proposal. Assuming we approve this, when would they get started? When do you think we'd get results back?
Yes, Vice Mayor, we would be within the compliance deadline with the Davie Group. They actually have the staff, and it would take them 3 days to conduct the full inventory and survey of the trees.
Very good.
We'd be on track.
Awesome. Do I have a motion?
Move to accept the consent agenda.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, on to the town manager.
Vice Mayor, Council, moving on to the manager's report. Advent Health, the PET scanner support and update. The mayor submitted the letter that is in your packet supporting Advent Health's effort to get a PET scanner for their hospital here in Weaverville. Utility construction on that site has begun. Also, as a reminder, Advent has a meeting scheduled at our community center tomorrow for elected officials from 1 to 3 and from 4 to 6 for community update and engagement. Again, that is tomorrow on the 26th, taking place at our community center. Code amendments, there's a couple of text amendments concerning Chapter 20 that are currently pending. A couple more that the planning board is actually working on. With that in mind, staff elected to roll out these minor amendments into one public hearing so that the public hearing town council scheduled for tonight on 8/25 was not advertised. This will save a little money on legal advertisements, and we'll bring it back to you when we're ready for that public hearing and have it set. Preserving the Picturesque America, a painting, Weaverville's iconic water wheel that was included in the 1873 publication entitled Picturesque America, that highlighted the French Broad area through paintings and drawings of scenic areas. It's a nonprofit organization that aims to continue the original mission, using the power of arts to inform, influence, and protect the original vantage points documented in the original publication, and to educate the public on the historic publications scenery documented. We've agreed to a marker being placed to provide this bit of Weaverville's history, similar to the one shown in your packets. It'll be located somewhere close to the bank, so it'll be visible but not in any way of the anticipated use of the water wheel area. And as bank, we're referring to the bank on the stream bank there. Water wheel reinstallation. The no-rise study has been completed and a flood permit was issued last week on that, which will allow reinstallation of the water wheel. We're still working with FEMA on the reimbursements and working to expedite the project in hopes of installation being completed prior to the event scheduled for September 27th. Our Plan B, C, and D for alternate planning purposes. If it isn't able to be back installed in time for in its current location, we do have an A-frame built that we will put the water wheel on right next to the creek bank, so that it is there for the dedication or commemorative ceremony, and only having to pay for a crane service one time to come in and then move it to that location. But again, the permits were issued last week. Working with our contract for the concrete to be able to build that base back up. He's on a project right now, and it will be the first or second week of September before he completes that one and has us next on his list. So that's kind of weather dependent on if he can get it in time to be able to be in its original location. For our 9/11 observance program, it'll be held on September 11th at 11 a.m. at the community center, and I'll be providing the keynote address this year. The Hominy Valley Men's a cappella choir will be providing the music. ABC store expansion. The ABC store is scheduled to purchase the condominium unit next to their current store at the end of this month. The space is currently occupied by U.S. Cellular, but will provide the ABC store with some much needed additional space, both retail space and warehouse, once the tenant's lease ends. The North Buncombe High School homecoming celebration. Instead of holding a homecoming parade that requires road closures, North Buncombe High School has opted to hold its homecoming celebration on their school campus this year due to safety and liability concerns. Town staff will be on hand to support their celebration. We will be continued engaged in that. Chief Overland's staff is also will be providing some ABC funding to the school to be able to have some educational material on site. We're conducting that homecoming parade on their grounds this year. For the Butterfly Trail, it's recommended by the Asheville Butterfly Trail representative, Ms. Phyllis Stiles, that the town has selected the red spotted purple butterfly for the sculpture installation that will be at the clock. Installation is expected this fall. In your package, you'll be able to see a picture of that butterfly. Also, in our last meeting on the clock, at the clock block with the representatives, there were actually some butterflies of that nature and species there in the clock block. So that was one of the reasons that they chose to go with that as well. In that habitat, and there's some pollination there currently. Frontier fiber optic cable installation. As some of you are aware, we have received multiple emails and calls, and I've talked with different homeowners, different subdivisions. We've gotten a large number of those calls regarding the fiber optic installation that was going on in the communities. I was able to speak with Ms. Allison Ellis, a senior VP with Frontier, and attached a recap of that conversation and the information that she provided. It is enclosed in your packets. The town is not having a role in this work, so questions or concerns are best directed to Frontier. Ms. Ellis can be reached at her email for those that are listening, audits, and online. The email is ae4862@ftr.com. And again, repeating that if anybody would like to write down, it's ae4862@ftr.com. I did have a good conversation with her to be able to open that communication and dialogue, and she has agreed to stay in touch, and also in hopes of being able to provide us some ahead of time information that we can assist them with our social media, pushing out to let residents know what is occurring in their area. She was very helpful once I finally got a contact that I could reach out to I did ride through one morning because their trucks were staging on Rim Creek, and looked for a representative there. There's several trucks out there. I couldn't find the contact, so was finally able to make contact with one of their VPs. The water commitment for 4 Doan Road, we've just learned that the 10-lot subdivision that was planned for the property at 4 Doan Road would not be moving forward, and the water commitment has been canceled. September 1st, offices will be closed for the Labor Day holiday. On September 2nd, the planning board will meet here in the council chambers at 4 p.m. A reminder of the September 11th 9/11 observance program taking place at 11 a.m. at the community center. On September 16th, town council workshop at 6 p.m. And on September 22nd, the council regular meeting at 6 p.m. here in council chambers. And that concludes your management report.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Do we know how much the ABC store expansion is going to be purchased for? The dollar amount?
Ms. Jackson has that. She's been working with them on that. So.
Would you repeat that figure, please?
Any more questions? Seeing none. Next up is general public comment. It does not appear that anybody has signed up. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak? Seeing none.
One got sent in by email from the writer. Urges the council to have a robust citizen engagement with the strategic plan prior to its adoption.
Yes, thank you. Discussion and action items. Project bids.
On page 94 in your packet, the raw water generated chlorine gas conversion, we've had several discussions on that. The bid opening for the raw water intake generated installation of chlorine gas conversion projects at the water treatment plant was held on June the 4th, 2025, and TP Howard's Plumbing Company submitted the only bid with a price of $1,818,568. This bid was considerably over what we previously budgeted. Town staff has explored the options to lower the cost of the project through value engineering, separating components into multiple contracts and postponing portions of the contract and rolling them into expansion product. None of those options yielded any real cost savings. Council was asked tonight to be able to move forward with a proposed motion to be able to grant TP Howard that contract at $1,818,568,000. Again, we're coming up on the opening bid deadline for that project, so that's the reason for moving forward with that. After working through all avenues and channels and trying to get that reduced, and some of those examples of avenues, we tried to separate out the installation of the generators itself and move that to a smaller project. Couldn't get any bids from a regular electrical contractor on that as well, so leaving that in there. We didn't really notice or change any of the dollar amounts on that to be able to move forward with that project. There is, we do have water funds, does have sufficient funds to cover that budget overage, and a comprehensive review of the funding plan and capital project ordinance related to that project and the water treatment plant project is needed. Town staff expects to bring recommendations back to council in the coming months regarding that project. discussions or questions on that project?
Yes, this, the budgeted amount was like 1.2, so we're about 500 over, is that
Yes, sir.
correct? Okay.
And on that bid process, when we had the original opening, we couldn't open the bids at that time. TP Howard was the only one in the audience, so the bids didn't open, and then when they came back, they were the only bid in that portion of time. We were allowed to open any bids that were received. They were the only ones bid on the project.
Okay.
Was the increase in amount to labor or?
That was their original bid. We don't know what was in their packet on the first bid since we couldn't open it. So we don't know if that was their original bid price and didn't get open, and they knew they were only ones at that bid opening, or what they came back with. That was the project that came back.
But the 1.2 was 18 months ago? or-
Yes, sir. It's been several, year and a half, 2 years for that project.
Life happens.
Mr. Harris, does the bid actually, does it break it down into line items? I mean, can we go back and
Yeah, we do, and what we did is,
analyze?
we basically went through that, we had a meeting at Public Works with them and went through, with their superintendent, project manager, and that's where we come up with the concept of what they showed generator cost at. If we took that out, would it offset that cost enough to be able to move forward with the project? And then they come back to us and said that there's other factors into it other than just moving the generator out, that line item you see, that's part of other incremental line items in there, so it's kind of all factored in on that total cost, even though when we looked at it, it's listed as a line item in that. Yeah, and like I said, that was what we had hoped would be the easiest solution in there, was just moving the generator out and then having a contractor bid that piece, but as they got going through it, there was other factors that, as far as cost and oversight and construction management of it and everything that's going to matter. Any other questions or discussion on that?
Anybody like to make a motion?
Well, we've been talking about it for years, so I think we need to move forward with it.
Yeah, I mean, these are pretty important, critical items.
If the recommended motion into tax, somebody want to make a motion?
I'd move, take this question as written.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
On page 99, your strategic plan and draft goals for the next step. The mayor, myself, Councilman Lawrence, and Assistant Manager Jackson, we've been meeting, taking in information that was obtained from February 24 council strategic planning meeting, putting into a draft strategic plan with 7 goals that have been identified in that. Sustainable growth and development, downtown vibrancy, economic growth, community character, emergency preparedness and community resilience, public safety and neighborhood resilience, infrastructure and environmental resilience, parks, recreation, special events, community vitality, and organizational culture and communications. We did take into account information that was provided in the comprehensive land use plan. Looking at that with the Boone strategic plan, it does reference a mission and vision statement that are in draft forms in those plans as well as a starting point. Again, we would need input from council at this point so that a full draft can be completed and presented back to council and to the public prior to adoption. But also, if you would like to have some public input session, when we can get those scheduled, if that's your desire to move forward with that, providing the public and some engagement opportunities to be able to take that plan and move it forward and offer their suggestions and recommendations. We did get some good comments and feedback when we held the public input sessions for the comprehensive land use plan for meeting. We held 2 meetings here in council chambers for that, as well as a survey that was posted online, and that was good feedback from that. Some of that has been incorporated into your strategic plan. But for the homework, we would ask the mayor and council to consider draft vision statements and missions that are provided, request revisions to those. And again, if you want public input, by all means, we can delay any of that and have their input. And identify your top 3 strategic objectives and initiatives for each of the 7 goals outlined in the plan, and add any objectives or initiatives that you think should be reflected in this plan. provided all that to the town manager by September 12th. That will be the homework, and collected and presented back to council at your meeting on September 22nd for a more refined and draft plan if you chose to go with those dates. Councilman Lawrence, if you've got any input you would like to add in that for setting in on the meetings and working through this project with us?
Yeah, I think it's a really great idea, and it's something we'd like to continue to participate. There are some things that I've been working on outside that I'd like to bring forward during those meetings so we can discuss it. That deals more with the actual implementation of these goals and objectives. So I think it would be worth the time. Hopefully it shouldn't take very long.
I think public engagement is important, and I'd like to see that happen. Some of you guys are good at that.
Well, I think that the more people look at it, the more eyes on it, the better it's going to be. And when the public gets a chance to look at it, you have more buy-in and commitment to it. So that's without commitment, we go just keep stuff always on paper.
So on that, would you like for us to set a date to do some public engagements, or you want us just send out a survey online? Would you like to do that, or just come back to you with some different structured dates in there?
Should we do it from here or take the input of the 7 of us and let you narrow it down? Because sometimes too many options is too many.
It certainly doesn't sound like a bad idea, but I think coming back with some dates would be helpful, or maybe you have something in mind that you want to share.
Not right off, September 22nd, put some dates in October.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we need to have it set to advertise to get them into the public, and that might be their top 3 homework assignment for each one of the goals. And that's kind of the teaser, is to get more people to come and participate. Sure. Which is the goal anyway. The more buy-in we get, the more support we'll have.
Yep.
So,
And if council wants to set that date tonight, you conduct it in here, then let the staff come back to you.
Either way, if you came back to us with that, just keep it like via email or something.
Oh, you get it. Okay.
So there's not really a motion to make necessarily.
No, sir.
Just homework.
No, it's the first day of school for everybody else too, so
Sure.
we'll do some homework tonight.
let me say that the homework, it's going to be a little bit tough to pick the top 3. So there's some good stuff in there.
I've got a couple of mine done, so I understand.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, when you've been here as long as I have, you kind of know out of 9 things, which 3 are the most important to you. So
Seems like it all comes back to sustainable growth and development, which is number 1, so. All right. Anything else to add?
On the water system improvements for engineering service agreement, amendment 3, on page 109 of your packets. February 21, Town Council approved a professional service agreement with Withers and Ravenel for the water projects that are underway related to the water treatment plant expansion. Over the last few years, the town has obtained $15,775,000 in grants funds that are available for this project. Amendment 3 to that professional service agreement adds some grant administration to the scope of work, page 7, for $60,000. This work will be billed hourly based on the actual time spent. And doing a risk-benefit analysis on that, town staff recommends that this amendment be approved in order to provide proper administration and manage these grants to ensure their availability for the town's water projects. Again, when we looked at it, this is a large amount of money. We have found it very taxing, trying to go through and manage these FEMA processes with all the other grants coming in. So we feel that $60,000 will be well spent and diverting the risk liability aspect and oversight on that. Again, we would ask to move and approve Amendment 3, the professional service agreement with Resolution Ravenel dated October 19th, 2025, and authorize staff to execute the same. Would be our recommended motion that would be.
All in favor? Fire department.
Good evening, Boss Mayor. Thank you. So, first page of documents. Staff, continue. Project installations throughout each month being consistent. And one thing I would like to outreach with children in out of school and using basic internet and picture. Along with that, this commercial inspections. Moving to the second page. Services for that is of those 500 this is neighboring license trucks. 244 of those calls are reported in no bunker charges. 269. Last quarter, I asked you to watch the overlapping call volume. This quarter, our overlapping call volume actually I don't expect that to be a trend, but I do say that when things occur, they do occur. I did go back and look at this was the lowest of current since January.
I'm a little chattier than Sorry. On the first page for the numbers, folks, you'll see that we have how many the last 2 months that you were making a guess. Well, I guess we that to have that a lot of data. West. That, so we'll check in on another year. I suspect that will reach one. On the next page here, I think it's probably not as high as it is, but this is something that's a little higher there, or something to be a little higher. People who got emails about it. Moving on to training and professional development, I'll just touch on a couple of these things and not read them all to you. Admin manual, superintendent, training, have the under training and professional development. I'll move on to animes. The teaching captain said at the bottom, on the vehicle landing training. So that sounds more exciting than what it is. We did not learn that. That is actually also known as using a vehicle landing training. About what we witnessed on the around about 30 miles an hour. We followed so we are doing what we can to try to address any of the liabilities, learn how to design and apply the strategies we're not just utilizing activities of interest. Firearm training, being certified by training and standards for use of basic law enforcement training. Came in as the real safety day. Black Mountains range firearms training, but their range was fluctuating. So the other positive part about that is the class size for law enforcement actually doubled, so they couldn't accommodate it at the training facilities. So they were able to use ours helping the students get through law enforcement training. So thanks for that. And you'll see Justin Cross there in the middle. He graduated. He was our first ever paid DOE student, and we're on to our second. Started in July. And activities of interest, the two supervisors who celebrated 20 years of service, you may recognize their names. That's Sergeant Robert Price. He's on duty tonight. He works nights, and Detective Brandon Harris with that 20 years. In the last couple of months, we celebrated 25 years of stewardship. There at the bottom, the notable traffic stop, 82 and a 35. So I have been getting some criticism that we don't do enough traffic enforcement, but I beg to differ. And there's actually been two at 82 and 35 now. It's in the same area on 2570. It's not always in the same direction, so most people assume that that's the folks coming off the interstate. But the first 82 and 35 was someone who got to that house and was leaving the house that was looking at, I guess, in the left. Like both sides, I'm not sure. And one fellow that got stopped at 82 and 35 just explained to the police officer, I like to drive fast. He'll explain that to a judge. On the last page, what else do you do? I just wanted to touch briefly on the activities that the police department does in the average year that involve increase in staff, all of our staff, some effort of community outreach, and some of our sunset community partnerships. I feel like that's a pretty big list of things to for an agency of people. A couple of things just touching there, hiring and promotion panels next week. We're attending 3 for 5 months, and 3 different people to help them with some promotions. And I am on the large chief panel, selection panel. Back to school fundraisers, we're going to have t-shirts for sale here pretty soon. Art and offers some cool new t-shirts to try to raise money for Pastor Kids. Some of the multiple drug and alcohol-free projects include that we yearbooks for kids at the high school whose families could afford to get them one. And we use a sticker on the inside that explains the yearbook. We've also helped provide some covering for the fencing across the street at the primary school. Flat covers in there. And we tried some new advertising on the travel partners with located to lock the car and things like that. So we're trying to find some different outreach. Captain Burrow spoke at the Clean Energy Conference. This has been a lot of interest in, patrol vehicles. I'm a speaker at the Law Enforcement Association. What about coverage? Unless you guys have some questions about it.
Mr. Vice Mayor, Council, real quick before the attorney goes to the closed session one. Fire department and the police staff did assist today with both schools for our first day back at school, helping the children get off the bus, helping parents walk in, and providing Kleenexes to some of the parents that needed it. We will be out there again tomorrow and Wednesday, assisting with them with that. But also, as you've heard both of them talk about, community outreach. One of the things with Sergeant Mason's position on that community engagement piece is that our staff is doing a great job of working with HOA, the homeowner association, providing different safety talks, and we're heavily involved, heavily engaged in reaching out to find out where we can be more prevalent at. That's been one of the requests of management through our department heads is what does no mean to you? Are you taking that word no as N-O, or are you taking it K-N-O? What we want to do is get out and know the community, be involved with the community, and be engaged as we can. And we found it very resourceful to work with our HOA, and we're providing information that they didn't even know existed from our staff a lot of times. So it's been very helpful to be involved in some of the safety talks and our fire and police and public works is involved in those engagements as well. So,
If I could just add to that, I had a chance to reach out to the fire marshal and to Officer Mace for our community as well, and they both seem to be absolutely delighted to be able to provide that type of service. Anybody that's interested in being safe more than usually should reach out. These guys are like, oh yeah, we'd love to do that. Open up that.
I do have a question about school car line, especially after they go into Merriman and Stafford. I know Merriman is a DOT road, it seems like it's a terrible situation. And that's because if I go home at 2 o'clock, I'm challenged.
We were just drawing pictures of that downstairs and explain, so we always see a big uptick in car riders in the first couple days because all parents want to drop their kids off and their backpacks are full and things. And we have talked about, can we get someone stationed down there? We're gonna try. We're gonna enter conversations about that probably tomorrow. Can the school get somebody down there? Are they qualified to do it? Our SROs are already up at the top of Yost in Maine, where it also becomes a real mess with buses and people coming in from all angles. And usually about that time, because the traffic is increased, the calls for service have also increased, and the remaining 2 officers are dispatched somewhere else. So we did talk about having the community resource officer, Mace, try to be down there at that time, or how we can work that out, or who else might be able to fulfill that, how long it would need to be sustained. We theorize that after the first couple of weeks, people will get the point of how to do it once we kind of show them how to let each other in and things like that. But once we tackle Yost, we may have to come up to Brown, I think, because they do the same thing there. But we've been down there on our whiteboard drawing pictures. And the best I can say is we're working on it. I'm just not really sure where it's going yet until we have some time to try to talk out schedules.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a closed session on our agenda. I'll let you, town attorney.
Yes, sir. Vice Mayor, Council, we need a motion to go in closed session pursuant to General Statute 142-318-11A3. Consult with an attorney retained or employed by the town in order to retain the attorney-client.
Motion? So moved. All in favor? Aye. return to open session. Meeting adjourned.